is dealing with an injury suffered in Sunday's game. He hasn't been ruled out, but their head coach Sean McVay has said, they will consider sort of the way Puka plays in terms of, obviously this is a guy that's a very physical player. They have a bye next week. They could sit him out and get him extra rest if they want to. They're having a weird week, too. They're practicing at Camden Yards, the Baltimore Orioles home stadium.
Where they play baseball?
Where they play baseball, and then they're not flying to London until Friday night for a Saturday arrival, so they may take it all the way up to the end of the week before deciding whether he goes.
Just with that detail, too, it makes you think he's not going to play this week. But
it doesn't sound like it,
yeah.
but they haven't come out and said that yet.
Interesting
so we'll see.
stuff. Guys, if Nakua can't go on Sunday in London, it'll be the 7th game he's missed over the last 2 seasons. Last year, in 6 games without Nakua, the Rams went 2-4 with just 4 touchdown passes, and Rams quarterbacks were sacked at more than double the rate than when Nakua played. That's an important number, too. Nakua has caught 82% of his targets this season. All other Rams receivers have caught 54%. I mean, Hawk, these numbers show you just how important Nakua is to this offense. If he can't go on Sunday, what does that look like for the Rams?
I have no idea. This entire offense runs through Puka. Puka is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and then you get the added bonus of him and Stafford being football kindred spirits. They see the defenses the same way, specifically against zone. 40% of Stafford's targets versus zone go to Puka because they see the defenses with the same eyes. With him not in the lineup, who takes some of that responsibility? Devontae Adams is more of a man beater. He likes to take his own time with his routes, which is different than the system. And then you add in the fact that Puka is the point of attack blocker in the run game.
Yeah.
He's their number 1 receiver, and in some ways they're tight end. They can run him and put him in there. They can insert him. They can put him at the end. And again, so you lose all of that with this offense. They're going to have to figure out ways to manufacture.
Yeah, I love your point about Puka in the run game. I want to show you something about Devontae and Matthew kind of being off. Get your perspective of it, because you making the point of Devontae being a little bit more of a man separating wide receiver is a little bit of the example that I'm talking about. 3 clips. So you're going to have Devontae at the bottom. He's going to run kind of like a back end line here, and he's going to beat coverage. Now, I want him and Matthew to get on the same page when that happens. You're going to see him beat that safety. When he beats that safety, Matthew's kind of resetting with his vision here. Now, Matthew's going to cut that ball loose. You're going to watch Devontae, once he gets out of this cut, really pay attention to, he doesn't necessarily burst out of this break because he sees all of this kind of boring green grass. He kind of anticipates easy touchdown. There's that little drift, hand up, and I would say the ball's thrown at a pretty good place. Expect him to make that catch. But if he bursts out of that, isn't there an easier catch? Now we're going to get a deep hook, okay? He's at the bottom of the screen. He's going to push vertical here. You're going to see, once again, an anticipation throw from Matthew Stafford, right when Devontae is coming out of that cut. Now, Devontae comes out of that cut, Hawk, and he gets downhill, but you're going to watch Matthew bleed him a little bit away from that corner, and what happens is Devontae's expecting one thing, the ball jumps him, and I hear all the time wide receiver coaches say never allow the ball to cross your eyes. Ball crosses his eyes, and that's a very uncharacteristic drop from Devontae Adams. Down in the red zone, relatively similar. Bottom of the screen, you're going to get him on a cut split hook. Once again, when he comes out of his cut, I don't know if he should be running an in route here or if he's boggling down, throttling down, coming back to the quarterback. Once again, the ball's out of Stafford's hands, but that ball gets past his eyes there, and is he supposed to be running an in route and getting through that window, or does he throttle down expecting a certain type of throw? So I think these are vets that can fix this issue, but it is something with Puka out. They're just not seeing it the same way, out of the cut almost.
It's a completely different philosophy in how they coach wide receivers in this offense. So to your point on some of those plays where you're used to Puka Nacua, when he comes out of his break, it doesn't matter. You're going full speed. That's what Matt Stafford is used to. On the end breaker where he's coming downhill, since I've been a kid, they've taught, hey, protect the quarterback. When you come out of these breaks, you're coming downhill.
Drifted a little upfield.
On Sean McVay's offense, you take a yak angle, which is if you have him beat, it teaches you the opposite. Go upfield, and that's what will throw you, because now you can catch and run. And so it's those little things and nuances that they're starting to trying to get on the same page, but it's different than what Davante Adams has always been taught.
Yeah, there's no question. Look, personnel-wise, Tutu Atwell's a receiver they could get back from his injury this week. He's not going to be what Puka is, especially in terms of getting out there and crushing people in the run game. But they are probably going to have a couple more weapons that they didn't have last week. So obviously, I have to adjust the game plan around that.
Yeah, as you said, there is that bye week coming up too. So time for Puka to get healthy if he's out this week. As for the Jags, their opponent, new on NFL Live, Liam Cohen spoke today on his plans for rookie Travis Hunter. Take a listen.
Scheming them open is part of it, is the number one, is my job ultimately, our job as an offensive staff to make sure we're putting him in the progression and putting him in the position to be number one, as a little bit more often in some ways. And then when he is the primary, we got to throw and catch. We got to make sure that we identify it, find them, be able to be at the right spot at the right time. We just had this conversation. So it's, I think it's a combination of a lot of those things that ultimately can all be controlled.
Field, some of the dilemma there of how to manage a player like Travis Hunter. You're trying to get as many touches as possible, right?
Feels like maybe the Jaguars are realizing there's a case to be made for Travis Hunter to maybe major exclusively in offense rather than defense as well. It does feel like if you're looking for silver linings, it's like a 1-to-1 ratio. Every time he touches the football, a really cool thing happens. You can see the special skill set that Travis Hunter brings to the table, but for a team that just scored 12 points last week, I think it's worth having your eyes wide open to ways that which the offense can be a bit more explosive in the passing game. Another silver lining here is, and this might not help support the cause of getting more work for Travis Hunter, the best game by far of Travis Hunter's season, Brian Thomas Jr.'s season this past week. He caught 8 of 10 targets, looked much more in sync with Trevor Lawrence, had a touchdown called back, actually, ironically, on an offensive offsides by Travis Hunter. The NFL's got to stop calling these ticky-tack offensive offside penalties.
Speaking to the crowd here, we agree. Yeah. I mean, you saw a lot of the highlights there of Travis Hunter. That was from our Monday Night Football game against the Chiefs, where he had some great opportunities. And they had planned in that game to do like 80 snaps, 40-40 split. It didn't happen that way either. So something to keep an eye on as they has led the Titans to a 1-5 start. Despite being the least blitzed qualified quarterback this season, Ward has been sacked a league-high 25 times this year, 6 more than any other player, and his off-target rate is north of 20%, the third highest mark in the league. New on NFL Live, Cam Ward spoke today for the first time since the firing of head coach Brian Callahan a few days ago.
It's really not for me to say. That's not my thing in the building. My job is to play quarterback. My job is to help lead this team to win. So I'm going to support whatever decision we make. The guys in the locker room are going to support it. But at the end of the day, with coach and without coach, like, we're trying to win football games. That's the main message that, Coach Mike is preaching, and we just got to live by it and stay true to it.
All right, so you draft a guy number 1 overall. We've been well documented on this show talking about how good Cam Ward has been despite the results at times. And I realize those numbers we just saw maybe makes you feel a little different. But, Graz, this is about his development. So what have the Titans said about how they'll develop Cam Ward with somebody new coming in?
Yeah, you can't just sort of white flag the first year of the development because you fired the head coach. So they lose the head coach and their offensive line coach, who was the head coach's father, and wasn't going to stick around. But they kept most of the rest of the infrastructure the same. The play caller will remain the same, Bo Hardigree, who it's been for the last 3 games. Mike McCoy was an offensive assistant on the staff already, so he's already been part of Cam Ward's developmental program. So I think they'll continue what they were doing, and then obviously there'll be somebody new almost certainly come in and change up the whole thing next year. But in the meantime, they feel like they can get good developmental work done.
If I could talk to Cam Ward, I'd tell him watch Monday Night Football next week, because Monday Night Football, 3 out of 4 quarterbacks are Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Jared Goff, all the guys that said, hey, you're not good anymore. Right. I think the things that I'd like to see, not only this season, but for the future of Cam Ward is, 1, get this offense a little bit more complete. It's so sit in the shotgun and so Cam Ward do it yourself. So just a more diversified offense, move the launch point, go under center a little bit. I think the second thing is quarterbacks like breather plays. Not every ball has to be 15 yards down the field. And part of that is Cam's growth, no doubt, but such longer developing pass plays. Sometimes it's just, hey, can I get a 5-yard out route just to turn my brain off and get a completion? And then being completion driven a little bit. I mean, Cam Ward's got 48 pass attempts this year that he's held the ball for 3.5 seconds or more. That's the most in the NFL. This is a rookie that doesn't have a ton to work with. I think that's the starting point schematically. Not only this year, but the future.
I mean, you have to protect him physically and schematically, to your point. You lose your O-line coach, and they weren't playing great, obviously, even before the head coach being let go. But at the same time, it's like when you have these top picks come into organizations that have so much to fix, you put everything on their shoulders, it does hurt their development. So you have to make the game plan more simple. You have to dig into the things that he's very comfortable and confident in executing. And on top of that, you have to try to find ways to mitigate, like, him not feeling like everything rests on his shoulders. To your point, like, he can't do it himself. And for no young quarterback, you can't. You don't give a fifth grader trigonometry.
Yeah.
No, you let them ease into it before they can master what the NFL is, which is chaos. And that rhythm will help them combat the chaos that is NFL football.
I remember having a conversation a few years ago with an offensive line coach about these sort of epidemic we have right now with no good offensive linemen in the NFL, or very few of them. And he was telling me that, one of the hardest things for us field as offensive line coaches is that we draft these guys, and the first thing we got to do is untrain all the bad habits they have from playing in college football. Big, wide splits, spread offenses.
Yeah.
These guys haven't ever gotten to three-point stances, all these things. That's what I want the Titans to have to avoid with Cam Ward, is that whoever the head coach is next year is not going to spend the first half of his season with Cam untraining potential bad habits that can be developed for the rest of this season. I think because of the personnel, it's going to be hard for Cam to develop all the requisite talents that we want him to this year.
Yeah.
But going forward, as long as he's not doing the things, it's kind of dovetails with what Dan was saying on both point 2 and 3 there. Less three-pointers, not getting comfortable, just trying to score 7 points on every single play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I actually think that Cam Ward is a quarterback that a lot of people would want to work with. So it'll be fascinating to see who they end up going with for this job.
If it's an offensive guy, he'll want to be there.
Yeah, right? There's a lot to be excited about with this young fellow. All right, a lot more coming your way here on NFL Live. Glad you're with us on this Wednesday. Whiteout Wednesday is back. Hawk has returned. Dan and Hawk are going to